Insider trade data analysis is the most misunderstood aspect of investment research. And today we are going to use insider trade data with Claude Code to analyze it further the right way using AI. And I'm going to also show you a few misconceptions that investor and analyst community have about insider trade data. And we are trying to help clear those misconceptions and use this analysis to further foolproof our investment research. Hi guys, welcome to Alpha with AI. This is Shubham. I used to manage more than $60 million in direct equities in Indian markets, and I used to analyze hundreds of companies every quarter. So I'm going to show you how I use insider trade data using Claude Code to do my analysis for my investment research, right? But before moving on, if you are first time watching my video, then you should know that this is a special series that we are running with Claude Code for investment research, and this is the second video of Claude Code for investment research series. And if you get little bit confused about how Claude Code works and how Claude Code is usable for your investment research, you should see that video first. It should appear somewhere here, and then you should come and watch this video, right? So before moving on, insider trade data is almost like that aspect of investment research where 50% of the investor and analyst community completely ignores it. They don't pay that much attention in a way for insider trades, right? And 50% of the analyst investor community is almost obsessed with insider trades data, right? Every buy and every sell signal almost needs to mean something to them, right? But I think insider trade data lies somewhere in the middle, right? And I will tell you why and how, right? So as Peter Lynch says, insider might sell their company shares for hundreds of different reasons, okay? But they will buy their shares for only one reason, which is they think that price is going to appreciate in the future, right? So if this is clear, that doesn't automatically, or that doesn't necessarily means that every sell transaction is a negative signal or every buy transaction is a positive signal, right? So I recently only analyzed US markets 5-year insider trade data using Claude Code, and what I found was quite surprising. So the data point that I found, and I found most intriguing about, was out of all insider trade transactions, 95% were sales transactions and only 5% were buy transactions. So what I'm saying here is 95% of the time, all the insider trades that happen are sell transactions, and only 5% of the time they are buy transactions, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that all the sell transactions are negative in some way, right? But this is what I'm afraid happens, especially with newbie investors and junior analysts. They tend to look at this very negatively, but that isn't supposed to be the case, right? So before moving on into this aspect a little bit further, you also need to understand one more thing, which is insider trade happen every day, and it shouldn't be the only aspect you should look for or you should pay close attention to. It shouldn't be the only one. It should be one of the many, but it shouldn't be the only one. And now what happens, particularly with insider trade data, whenever any analyst or investor decides to analyze insider trade data, they will have to go on particular website. It could be SEC website, NSE website, any official website, or any data provider website like Finviz, Screeners of the world, right? They will go on that website, they will download that data in CSV file, then they will further analyze it in their Excel. So this is like a long process, right? But with AI, this could be accelerated exponentially, right? So we are going to talk about how to do that with Claude Code. This is like the main part of our video. But before moving on to that aspect, there are some misconceptions that are currently present in the investor community about insider trade data, and I'm going to try and help clear them at least a little bit, right? So first thing, I will show you a live use case here so that you will understand maybe this aspect a little bit better. And I'm going to take a favorite company of mine in the US market, which is Google, right? So if you see, this is the 2-year trade data, which is visible, which starts from May of 2024 and ends till May of 2026. And if you see, almost all the transactions that are present are all the sales transactions. So insiders are only selling since last 2 years, right? So if you were not aware that this was a Alphabet, this is a Google, right? And if you see this data point, you see this chart, you will almost think like this is not a very good company. Insiders are selling constantly since last 2 years. This must be not a very good company, or there must be something wrong in this company that insider selling this at this level. I mean, look at the total buys and sales. So total buy is less than $5 million and total sales are almost like $395 million. That is extremely huge, right? So this should be a sell signal, at least if you see it for the first time, right? But if you dig a little bit further, right, you can see one thing clearly. In May 2024, so this was a period where AI boom was on the rise, right? And there were lots of different questions in the market because Google's primary source of revenue comes from its search engine, right? And there were a lot of questions mark on how AI is going to impact that search engine's revenue, right? So market was unsure, I was unsure, many of the investors and analysts were unsure how this is going to pan out. Everyone knew Google was undervalued, everyone was aware, but they were unsure of making a buy because of this one particular reason on how AI was going to impact their business, right? But later on, Google released number of AI tools like Notebook LM. There are different tools with Gemini, right? And what happened later on is like stock has been appreciated like 80-90% over last 6 months. So if you go and look at this chart, you can literally see this 1-year chart, let's say. So in last 1 year, Google has given 143% return. I mean, it's almost crazy, right? Look at all the insider sales transactions and look at the share price appreciation. Now it completely doesn't make sense, right? Now you will think that insider trade data is almost irrelevant at this point, especially for Google, right? But that is not the case either, because you also need to understand one more very important aspect about insider trade, right? And this is true in almost all the markets, right? Doesn't matter if you are trading from US, Canada, India, Australia, right? This is true in almost all the markets, which is insiders are only allowed to trade if they are not aware of any price sensitive non-public information, right? If they are aware of any kind of information like that, then they cannot do any insider trades. So in this Google's case, their team must be aware of these tools that they are going to release over next 1 or 2 years, right? So even though they were aware, they could not trade. Right, and that is why you can only see this is just one tiny buy transaction, but apart from that there were no buy transactions, because even they were aware, they were not allowed, or they are prohibited for making any kind of transaction in that regard, right? So what I'm trying to highlight here is, many of the times, even though insiders know something which could make a bigger impact on their stock price, on their company's stock price, they still can't trade because of this prohibition rule, right? So this is just one aspect that I needed you to be aware of, right? And apart from this, I will show you one more use case, so you understand here that insider sales data doesn't necessarily mean that price is going to depreciate. You are now clear on that. Now I will show you second use case, right, which is Warner Bros. So you see, this is Warner Bros. 2-year data. So I will zoom in a little bit. What you see here, so you can see there are few sell transactions and few buy transactions, right? If you see, there is this one tiny buy transactions which has happened around, you can see, maybe this is August of 2025, right? Now go and look at Warner Bros. Stock chart, and this was around, let's say, August of 2025. This is a 1-year chart, right? So that transaction happened somewhere around this, so that then the price was around $13-14, right? And look at the appreciation right now. From that, the price has almost doubled, right? So you will think that this is just one buy transaction, happened exactly at the right time, so there must be some kind of a sketchy thing going on here, right? But if you look at the history, let's say I go into 5-year data, and now you can see Warner Bros. Has a habit of making insider buys periodically. You see, they have bought some in 21, they have bought some more in 22, 23, right? So if you look at this, then you are now unsure about this being a sketchy part, right? But now if you know this data point further, let's say I will go again in this 1-year data, right? And if you know, since this August, I believe couple of news of buyouts came. Maybe one was from Netflix, and after that only share price appreciated a lot, right? So do they knew about this, right? Probably, most probably not, right? Because so if you see at this data point, you can see that Warner Bros. Bought this around August of 25. After that only the Netflix acquisition, and around 2 acquisitions came around that time, and the stock price doubled, right? And this trade which happened was exactly before that. So what do you think now, right? You'll think that, yeah, still something sketchy going on, but then you again go and see the 5-year data, and you understand that Warner Bros. Has a history of buying, right? So this was most likely a coincidence, right? So what I'm saying here is, they are buying since last 3, 4, 5 years, and just one buy transaction and then stock price doubling are not necessarily correlated, right? So most likely this was a coincidence. So what I'm trying to highlight here from the previous use case is that not every sales transaction is a negative transaction, and not every insider buy transaction is a positive transaction or a positive sign. Now we will move on to analyzing this further using Claude Code. So I will just ask a simple thing here. I need to analyze insider trade data over last 1 week. You can refer to websites like Finviz. I need to analyze a specific data in the US market only. And before analyzing on this further, I need to categorize all the buy or sales transaction according to the meaningful impact of buy signals they might give me. So what does that mean is I need to categorize them according to the strong buy or just another buy transaction, or strong sell or just another sales transaction. So I need to clearly differentiate between this, right? And you need to also do one more thing. So I will stop here just for a second. So I just remembered I did one newsletter piece few months back on insider trade data, right? So this was this insider trade data, and while doing that I had created one specific prompt. On the basis of that prompt, I had clearly categorized insider trade data on 3 different signals. One was contrarian buy, one was momentary confidence, and one was risk signal, right? So on the basis of that, I had created these 2 beautiful prompts, one for Indian market and one for US market, right? And I really like this article, and I feel this could be helpful for me. And this could also be helpful for Claude Code as well while doing this analysis. So what I will do now is I will just add this to my Obsidian. Again, if you are finding this confusing, you need to understand one thing clearly, is that I had made a separate video on how to set up Claude Code for investment research, and Obsidian is just one part of that analysis and that setup, right? So now since the article has been added here, so you can see that article must be added somewhere in this raw data. So you can see here it has been added, right? So the data has been added. So what I will do here, just one simple thing. I have also added one article just right now, which is called Stop Reading Insider Filings Manually, right? Which has been added to a raw folder. You might also take help of that article to do this analysis. I want this analysis done for US markets only, and give me the top 10 transactions over last 1 week or over last 3-4 days of meaningful buy signals as well as meaningful sell signals, right? So this was a pretty, you can see, simple prompt. I just gave it what I exactly wanted, and I had also taken help of my past article. So one very important use case of Claude Code is you can add different things to Claude Code, whether it could be your in-house templates, whether it could be any supporting material that you might have, right? Any article that you might need to have to do that analysis. You can add anything, and you can give access, basically you can give access to anything for Claude Code is what I'm saying, right? So I have given one access from my article to Claude Code and just one simple prompt, and you will see how this does. So I want to show you one more thing while this is happening, I feel, which was very important, right, about this article. So if you see these prompts very carefully, what I had done here is I have also given some specific steps, right, which was very meaningful while doing any insider trade analysis. Is after, let's say, you analyze a bunch of data points, you should also understand on the basis of that analysis which sectors might be showing a buying concentration, or which sectors might be showing a selling transactions or pledging pressure, right? Are insiders buying post corrections, or they are selling on the euphoria rallies, right? These kind of signals also matter apart from the actual data point analysis, right? So this is why I have added this article as a support to Claude Code, because it will also give me a sector as well as macro context. And that is also very important aspect while doing investment research, that you shouldn't only tie your insider trade data directly to your investment research, ignoring without analyzing all other aspects or ignoring all other aspects. One more hack I would like to tell you while this analysis is going on is, if you see this little status line. So status line is basically one of the key features in Claude Code where you are able to monitor whatever you want to monitor while doing your analysis. So what I have done is I have added a minimax, which is a Chinese model, in my Claude Code, which is relatively inexpensive compared to Claude's flagship models. And for doing simple data analysis like the one we are doing right now, we really don't need a very powerful proprietary models like Opus or Claude Sonnet, right? Even simple Chinese models like Minimax are enough. So that is the primary reason I alternatively add Minimax sometimes as a model in my Claude Code. So I need to be aware, right, which model right now is active. So that is why I have added my current model, which is open. Along with that, the context, total context. So this has 200k context, which is also visible here. Then this is a context window. So 28% of the total context is used right now, and which is also very important, right? Because once context starts to add up, your accuracy starts to go down, right? So this is also very important aspect. And once your accuracy starts to go down, it is going to ultimately affect whatever analysis that you are doing or whatever project that you are working on. So that is why tracking your context usage is also very important. So what I've done is I have added 3 data points here. This is my current directory, this is my current model along with the total context, and this is my current context usage. How to add this? So this is just one small trick. You just need to activate the status line skill, and then you just need to give any simple prompt in a natural language like I need to be added my current directory, my current model along with total context and total context usage in my status line. So total context usage should be visible in a rectangular along with the total percentage. That's it. Once you add something like this, this status line will be cleared. So you can see the results have started generating. So let's see what it has been given. So what I found and how I categorize it, right? You can see buy signals. So what I've done is they have given one criteria that CEO and CFO if buys on open market with a transaction size of $100K or 3+ insiders in a cluster buy, then it is a strong buy, right? Sell signals. What does sell signals means? Again, if CEO or CFO sells more than $100,000 or 5+ executives sell in kind of cluster selling, then that it is a strong sell, right? So they have clearly categorized this according to the supporting article that I have given them, right? And they have also given me this .md file. So let's see what is in this .md file, right? So file name is Insider Trading Analysis 2026. So this is that file. So let's see what is in this file, right? So executive summary, conviction score, they have categorized conviction score on strong buy, moderate buy, low buy, strong sell, moderate sell, and low sell. Now if you see 10 meaningful buy signals, they have given me 10 different stocks and their meaningful buy signals. So you can see the charts are not properly implemented here. This is extremely confusing, right? Again, here the charts are not properly implemented here. You can see the rows with different headers, rank, ticker, insider, role, date, but it is not properly aligned inside, right? So we need to ask Claude Code to fix this. So I just have had a look at insider trade analysis markdown file and everything looks okay to me. The only issue I have is the 10 meaningful buy signals and 10 meaningful sell signals table are not generated properly. There are some misalignment issues that you need to fix and give me an updated markdown file, and anything that you need to add to further foolproof this analysis is always welcome. And I will just hit enter. So let's see what happens. I will just close this file. So it will start again analyzing. I will wait to see the results. So while this analysis is happening, I would like to also give you one more tip while using Claude Code. So let's say there's some project going on which might take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the complexity of the project, and you need something short while the main thing is happening. So anything, there might be small questions or small queries that you need to handle, right? So in that case, you need to do very small command here, which you just need to add BTW, which is by the way, and then you need to ask any question that you want to ask. So what will happen is, while without actually touching the actual project or actual analysis that is going on in the backend, it will give you answer on a completely separate query. So this is one hack you could use while using your Claude Code. So you can see it has fixed some issues and created an updated file. So let's see what is in the updated file. So now you can see what they have done. Again, strong signals, moderate buy, low buy, strong sell. Then they have created one conviction dashboard. Then the company level insights according to the top 10 buys, every company analysis. So if you can see this further, you can see for this first company, RA Capital deployed $48 million in a single open market buy on May 4. So this is a huge transaction at 18 rupees against a 52-week high of 14 rupees. So 52 high was $40 and they have bought almost $48 million stock in a single open market at $18. So this is like a textbook contrarian buy thing, right? The stock has corrected by a lot and now they simply think that this must be one signal that this company's management simply thinks that price is extremely underappreciated, right? So they have bought this in a single transaction, right? So you can see the additional notes for each buy Claude Code has given you. And again, same thing goes for sell. So what they have done is, again, they haven't fixed this issue, this table issue, right? But they have given you additional takeaways, sector and macro patterns. So this was, I was talking about sector and macro patterns. So where buys are concentrating. So buys, biotech and pharma. So sophisticated institutional investors are accumulating in clinical stage and mid-cap biotech names at 40 to 60% discounts to 52-week high. So again, you've got a sector and macro insights from this data as well. See how important it is Even if you don't get clear buy or sell signals, this additional data points are like hidden gems that you might not get from anywhere except for this data, right? Key takeaways, right? So okay, I have gotten enough, but still the only issue that I found was these tables are not properly formed. These are supposed to be tables, but the formatting is completely wrong. So I need to ask Claude Code again. Everything according to me is all right in the new Markdown file. The only issue is the conviction dashboards. The conviction dashboards that you are generating, the tables are not properly formatted. I cannot see the tables. If you go and have a look in conviction dashboard, whether it is a buy dashboard or a sell dashboard, you can see the tables are not properly formatted. I cannot see the tables. The formatting is clearly wrong. Please fix that issue. If you need to ask me anything additional for that, you are free to ask. And let's see what it does. So I believe Claude Code has fixed it. So let's see. So as you can see, it still hasn't fixed it. But so this is the issue with Markdown files. So Markdown files are supposed to be read by these CLI tools like Claude Code, but you can definitely use preview function to see this very clearly. So if you see the preview function here, which is right beside this Markdown file, you can see the tabular structure perfectly, where it shows conviction dashboard and 10 meaningful sell signals along with all the right tables, right? So now you have all the data with you, right? So now you need to analyze this even further, right? So make a short list of, let's say, 2 or 3 stocks. Ask Claude Code to further deep dive into these stocks. Maybe add additional material that you think is relevant for this kind of analysis that you want to do. Though this shouldn't be a final output or final decision signal. This should be a starting point for you to do your further analysis before making any kind of investment decisions. This should be a starting point is what I'm saying. And if you want any help, or make sure you do comment if you need any help or any questions about this workflow or any other workflow that you might want me to do in our next videos. I read every comment. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.